She's worth a lot more than $450 million.
Her art alone.
And like those talk show hosts.
Her devil-worshipping art alone.
It's just, it's too much.
Wait, devil worshipping? We need to back up because this isn't just talk show drama anymore. Everyone knew. Actors knew, agents knew, managers knew, studio executives knew, but nobody spoke publicly because too many careers depended on staying silent. Everyone knew. But here's the part that changes everything.
You like your money because that's why I broke up with you.
Ellen's fine. She can sit on her pile of...
What if the money wasn't just about success? What if it was the price of admission? When Rob Schneider sat down on Megyn Kelly's show, he wasn't here to talk about Ellen's Netflix special. He was here to say something nobody in mainstream media wanted to say out loud. And what came out of that conversation didn't just crack Ellen's carefully constructed image. It opened a door into something much bigger.
Oh yeah, that's disingenuous. That's disingenuous.
Yeah, disingenuous.
Disgenerous. That's disgenerous.
That word kept coming up. Disingenuous, fake, a performance. But the more Rob talked, the more it became clear he wasn't just annoyed with Ellen DeGeneres. He was angry about what she represented. Because here's what most people don't realize. Ellen's fall from grace in 2020 wasn't just about being rude to staff. It wasn't just about the Dakota Johnson interview or the Mariah Carey pregnancy ambush. Those were just the cracks in the facade. The real story was what happened when people started asking questions about the system that protected her. And when you start pulling that thread, you end up at some very dark places. Joe Rogan has spent decades in entertainment. He's heard stories from actors, musicians, producers, and insiders who've seen behind the curtain. And according to Joe, the stories all follow the same pattern. Powerful people using their influence to control others, silence victims, and maintain their grip on an industry built on exploitation.
Jeffrey Epstein was investigated by the SEC in the 1980s. He was one of the two people who ran the biggest Ponzi scheme in history at the time in the United States, the Towers financial collapse. Epstein's business partner goes to jail for like 30 years or 20 years or whatever. But Epstein skates completely free.
Think about that. The man ran a Ponzi scheme. His partner went to prison. Epstein walked. And then he walked again and again for 40 years.
Why is that? Well, one is, he may have... We know in the U.S. Virgin Islands case, he was sponsoring the campaigns, basically, of the politicians there. The prosecutors answer to the politicians. Could be that. But I would be shocked if they're in 40 years of this Where's Waldo, Forrest Gump, he's always in the room, in 40 years of American foreign policy and intelligence activity, money sourcing for all the crimes that Epstein committed, the concern was the same one they had with Rolando Masfer. Don't bring the case, and if you do, bring it in a highly limited way.
This is what Joe is saying. Epstein's immunity wasn't an accident. It was a choice. Someone was choosing to protect him. And if you follow that protection, you follow the network. Now, what does Ellen have to do with any of this? Everything. Because Ellen's story isn't about a talk show host being mean to staff. It's about a public figure who built an empire on an image that was never real, protected by an industry that knew exactly who she was, and maintained her status through the same system that protected Harvey Weinstein, that protected Epstein, that protected everyone.
You were not allowed to make eye contact with Ellen in the halls of that show. If you saw her, this is not a nice person.
Not making eye contact. That's control. That's the kind of power dynamic that goes beyond just being demanding. That's the kind of behavior you see in abusive relationships, in cults, in systems where one person has absolute authority and everyone around them is terrified. And Ellen didn't build that alone. According to Rob Schneider, and according to people like Megyn Kelly who actually called this out on camera, the entertainment industry has a very specific system. You don't rise to the top just by being talented. You rise because you're willing to play the game, and the game has rules.
I can't stand these rich celebrities who want us to feel sorry for them. We don't, right? It's like all those you saw, like Julia Roberts on the Oprah special with Kamala Harris.
Rob wasn't angry that Ellen was rich. He was angry that she was lying about what it took to get there. And more importantly, that she was never held accountable for the system she was a part of. Because here's what nobody wants to say. Ellen didn't operate alone. She had protection, she had backing, she had an infrastructure that kept her in power, even as stories piled up about her behavior. And if you look at who was protecting her, you find yourself looking at one name over and over again: Oprah. Now, Oprah Winfrey has carefully built an image as America's friend. The woman who made it, the woman who understands the struggle, the woman who gives back. But according to multiple sources, according to people like Rose McGowan and Seal, Oprah Winfrey had very close relationships with some of the most dangerous men in Hollywood.
McGowan, who has been a very outspoken voice, a part of the Me Too movement, called Oprah out for her association to Harvey Weinstein. Rose described Oprah as fake and not the trustworthy woman that she claims to be.
Oprah was photographed with Weinstein. She praised him, she worked with him, and when his crimes were finally exposed, she didn't distance herself. She rebranded herself as part of the solution. But it gets darker.
Oprah Winfrey had no problem being associated with Russell Simmons, who has been accused of R-word by 15 different women, and he also began dating the mother of his children when she was not a legal adult.
15 women, 15 accusations of rape, and Oprah had no problem being associated with him. She worked with him, she was photographed with him, until the pressure got too high and he fled the country. Now here's the thing, Oprah knew. Of course she knew. Everyone at that level knew, because according to Joe Rogan, knowledge isn't the issue in Hollywood. Silence is the point. Everyone knew. Actors knew, agents knew, managers knew, studio executives knew, but nobody spoke publicly because too many careers depended on staying silent. Think about that. Your entire career, your entire fortune, your entire life depends on never saying what you know, never naming the names, never revealing the system. You just smile, you take the deal, you get rich, and you shut up. And if someone starts to crack, if someone starts to tell the truth, then the machine works to discredit them, to make them look crazy, to destroy them. That's what happened to Dave Chappelle. At the height of his success, Dave walked away from $50 million. The media called him crazy. His family thought he was having a breakdown. But according to Joe Rogan, and according to Dave himself, he walked away because he understood what was being asked of him.
I wasn't walking away from the money.
Yeah.
I was walking away from the circumstances that were coming with the newfound plateau.
Yeah.
It takes a while when you punch through to adjust to the atmosphere. It was completely outside of my frame of reference. I've been in show business since I was 14, and I've heard the story of what happens. And
What stories? That's the question everyone should ask. What happens when you reach a certain level of success in Hollywood? What circumstances require you to walk away from $50 million?
Mariah Carey made a $100 million deal, and 3 months later, she's all of a sudden mysteriously crazy. Or Martin Lawrence punches through and he's waving a gun on the street screaming, "They're trying to me."
Yeah. Hey, you're trying to me? That's not a breakdown. That's a cry for help from someone who understands the system, finally. And Joe Rogan knows exactly what Dave is talking about.
What is happening in Hollywood? That a guy that tough will be on the street waving a gun, screaming, "They are trying to kill."
Yeah.
What's going on? Why is Dave Chappelle going to Africa? Why does Mariah Carey make a $100 million deal and take clothes off on TRL?
These weren't mental breakdowns. These were reactions to something, to someone, to a demand, to the price of fame. Now, when you look at Ellen's story through this lens, everything shifts. Because Ellen didn't just happen to be rude. Ellen represented a very specific type of power structure. She had a talk show that reached millions of people. She had the power to make or break careers. She had access to celebrities, politicians, powerful people. She had a platform, and according to multiple sources, she used that platform to entertain people who were connected to exploitation networks. One horrifying incident even involved one of the biggest singers in the world, Mariah Carey. In 2008, Mariah appeared on Ellen's show while she was pregnant, but she hadn't announced it publicly. During the interview, Ellen repeatedly tried to get Mariah to confirm the pregnancy on live television. At one point, she even offered her a drink, suggesting that if Mariah refused it, everyone would know she was expecting. Ellen pressured Mariah on live television in front of millions of people, using a pregnancy she didn't want revealed as leverage. And shortly after that interview, Mariah suffered a miscarriage. Whether that was coincidence or consequence, Mariah herself has said it was one of the most uncomfortable moments of her life. But Ellen kept doing it. She kept using her platform to humiliate guests, to extract information, to exert control.
How does the Ellen we see on TV compare to the Ellen you saw when the camera stopped rolling?
Totally different. She would only speak to the audience when the cameras were rolling. As soon as they turned the cameras off, she would not even acknowledge the audience.
Off camera, she was a different person, cold, disconnected, the kind of person who doesn't see other people as human, the kind of person who sees them as objects to be used or discarded. That's a psychological profile you see again and again in people who abuse power. Now here's where it connects to the bigger picture. Ellen's show wasn't just a platform for entertainment. According to Rob Schneider and others, it was part of an ecosystem that included some very specific people who had very specific connections.
They're gonna let her back in, Rob, because she's a lesbian, she's a leftist, and she didn't hit one of their sacred cows.
That's a loaded statement. Let her back in. Back into what? Back into the protection system that kept her safe for years? The system that made sure her workplace violations didn't destroy her? The system that looked the other way while her employees reported her behavior? Because here's the thing, Ellen's show didn't get canceled because she was mean. It got canceled because something else was exposed, because people started asking the wrong questions. And when people start asking the wrong questions, the machine has to act. Ellen's show shut down in May of 2022. Just a few months later, Anne Heche, Ellen's ex-partner from decades ago, was involved in a car crash. In August 2022, Ellen's former partner, Anne Heche, was involved in a devastating car crash in Los Angeles. She suffered severe injuries and passed away days later. The official investigation ruled the crash was accidental. But was it? Because here's what's interesting. Anne Heche had recently started talking. She had recently given interviews. She had recently started revealing details about her relationship with Ellen. She had written a book. She was uncanceling herself. And then she crashed her car into a house. The fire burned so hot they couldn't get her out for 45 minutes. And the coroner's report said there was no alcohol in her system, no drugs, just traces of cocaine from prior use. But the photo from the crash scene showed a vodka bottle. How do you explain that?
Most people, that photo looks like proof that she was drinking. But here's the thing. According to the coroner's toxicology report, there was no alcohol in her system reported during the time of the crash.
No alcohol, no drugs, but driving like she was running from something or someone. Anne Heche wasn't the only person connected to Ellen's world who died under suspicious circumstances. There was also Twitch. Steven Twitch Boss was Ellen's beloved DJ and executive producer. He was on the show from 2014 onward. In 2020, just as the workplace scandal erupted, he was promoted to executive producer. Everyone loved Twitch. He was pure light, pure joy. He was the kind of person who made Ellen look good just by standing next to him. And then in 2022, he was dead. Self-inflicted wound, the coroner said. No signs of foul play.
Another choreographer that was close to Twitch stated that after the 2020 toxic workplace scandal, Twitch had come under immense pressure for publicly supporting Ellen. Quote, people were looking at him like, why are you still supporting this woman?
Twitch was being attacked for supporting Ellen during the scandal. He was being isolated. He was being pressured. And then he died. And when he died, his wife only received half of his estate because he didn't have a will, which is incredibly odd for someone making that kind of money. Ellen released a statement saying she was heartbroken, but the internet wasn't satisfied. The internet started asking questions. And according to people online, according to people on podcasts, according to people who've looked into this, the death doesn't add up. Not because there's solid evidence of foul play, but because the timeline is so convenient, because the pressure was so intense, because Twitch knew things. But here's what we need to zoom out and understand. Ellen, Twitch, Anne Heche, these aren't isolated incidents. These are part of a pattern that Joe Rogan has been documenting for years. Throughout history, there have always been powerful people willing to exploit others and individuals willing to facilitate those desires. He argued that extreme wealth often creates environments where normal rules stop applying and where people begin believing they are untouchable. Untouchable. That's the key word. Because once you reach a certain level, once you have enough money, enough power, enough connections, normal rules don't apply. You can do things that would destroy regular people. You can buy your way out. You can silence people. You can make problems disappear. And if you're really connected, if you're part of the real inner circle, you have even more protection. You have networks. You have people who owe you favors. You have access to resources that most people can't even imagine. This is where Epstein enters the story. Because according to Rob Schneider, according to people who've looked into this, there's a specific list. A list of people who were connected to Epstein. A list of people who benefited from the system he represented. And according to Rob, that list includes Ellen and Oprah. Now, we don't have direct evidence that Ellen or Oprah were involved in Epstein's crimes. But what we do have is a pattern. We have Ellen using her platform to entertain, to humiliate, to control. We have Oprah choosing to associate with known predators. We have both of them protecting their images at any cost. And we have Joe Rogan saying that this goes to the very top of the entertainment industry.
His contract? It was in his contract. The way he had his contract set up was like they had a certain amount of money that he would have to pay if he had a harassment claim against him. It was like,
it was a thing for him.
Yes. Like he had so many claims. It's like first offense was $100,000. Second offense was $250,000. Third offense was $750,000. Fourth offense was $1 million.
That's Harvey Weinstein's contract. Built-in penalties for sexual harassment. Because they all knew, it was just a cost of doing business. And the same system that protected Weinstein protected everyone else. Because the system isn't about individual predators. It's about an infrastructure. An infrastructure that includes studios, agents, managers, producers, and yes, talk show hosts like Ellen. An infrastructure that knows exactly who the dangerous people are and exactly how to keep them in power. According to Rob Schneider, this infrastructure has been hiding in plain sight for decades.
Yeah, because I'm mean. Yeah, you can't be mean and be in show business. No, they'll kick you out.
But that's the thing. They don't kick you out. They protect you. They keep you. They make sure you stay on top of the pyramid, even when thousands of people are accusing you of being cruel, of being manipulative, of being dangerous. Because the system needs people like Ellen. It needs people at her level to be complicit. It needs them to know what's happening and say nothing. It needs them to smile and play along and collect their $450 million. And when one person tries to step out of line, when one person tries to tell the truth, that's when they get disappeared. That's when they crash their cars into houses. That's when they suddenly become depressed and self-destructive and then dead. This is what Joe Rogan has been trying to tell people. This is what Rob Schneider was expressing when he sat down on Megyn Kelly's show. This is what's behind Ellen's fall from grace. It's not just about being rude to staff. It's about being a knowing participant in a system of exploitation and abuse. It's about profiting from other people's suffering. It's about protecting predators. It's about silence.
You're just sorry you got caught. You're just sorry that all that you've worked so hard to build on your lie is now crumbling right before your eyes.
That's the ultimate fear of people like Ellen. Not that they'll be punished, but that the lie will fall apart, that people will see who they really are, that the system will crack open and expose everything underneath. And maybe that's what's starting to happen. Because Ellen tried to come back with a Netflix special. She tried to rebrand herself as the victim. She tried to make the whole thing into a joke.
Kicked out of show business. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, because I'm mean. Yeah, you can't be mean and be in show business. No, they'll kick you out.
But nobody believed it. Not the people she hurt. Not the people who worked for her. Not the people online who had been watching this unfold. They saw a person who had never actually apologized. A person who was still the victim in her own story. A person who was still trying to control the narrative.
Not sorry. So stop acting. I got kids, I'm married. I know exactly what a real apology looks like. I know when I have to give one. It means you're remorseful down in your soul and your spirit. You deeply regret what you've done. You lack all of those qualities. You lack them all. And you are not remorseful. You are not even sorry about what's happening. You're just sorry you got caught.
That's the truth that Ellen can never escape. And that's the truth about the whole system. They're not sorry, they're just sorry they got caught. Because for decades, they weren't caught. For decades, the system worked exactly as designed. People knew, agents knew, managers knew, studio executives knew, and nobody said anything. According to Joe Rogan, the reason was simple. Too many careers depended on staying silent. Everyone knew. Actors knew, agents knew, managers knew, studio executives knew, but nobody spoke publicly because too many careers depended on staying silent. Your career, your mansion, your Porsche, your ability to walk into a restaurant and have people bow down to you. All of it depends on the system staying intact. All of it depends on you not being the person who breaks ranks. All of it depends on silence. And the people at the very top, people like Oprah, they get to control the narrative even more. They get to position themselves as victims, as crusaders, as the good guys, while simultaneously protecting predators and profiting from exploitation. This is what Rob Schneider was angry about. This is what Joe Rogan has been documenting. This is what Anne Heche tried to tell us before she crashed her car. The system is real. The exploitation is real. The complicity is real. And the people who benefit most from it are the ones who smile the brightest and donate the most to charity. Ellen's Netflix special was supposed to be her comeback. Instead, it was a masterclass in gaslighting, in pretending nothing was wrong, in rewriting history while standing on a stage that cost millions to build.
She's got a Netflix special. Hello, you haven't been canceled if you are doing a Netflix special.
Exactly. Ellen wasn't canceled. She was allowed to take a break. She was allowed to rebuild. She was allowed to come back with a Netflix special because she's still part of the system, because she still matters to the infrastructure. The real cancellations, those happen to people who try to leave, to people like Dave Chappelle, who walked away from $50 million because he understood what was being asked of him, to people like Anne Heche, who tried to tell the truth and ended up driving into a house, to people like Twitch, who became inconvenient. Now, Rob Schneider's revelation about a list of celebrities connected to Epstein, that's the real story. Because if Ellen and Oprah are on that list, it's not because they're victims. It's because they're beneficiaries. It's because they know how the system works and they're profiting from it. And according to people like Joe Rogan, according to people who've been in the industry for decades, this list is long, very long. It includes names you recognize, names you trust, names that have been protected by an infrastructure designed specifically to keep people quiet.
There's got to be like a bunch of people that ran their business that way.
But Weinstein, they say like in Hollywood, like my agent's like, oh no, yeah, it's about time he got caught. I'm like, what the everyone knew this?
Dude,
like everyone knew.
Everyone knew. And that's the most damning thing of all. Not that Weinstein did what he did, but that everyone around him knew and did nothing. That agents who represented his victims also represented him. That studios that profited from his deals also knew about his crimes. That talk show hosts who had him as a guest also knew about the stories. And yes, that includes Ellen. Because Ellen's show was a platform. It was a place where powerful people came to be humanized, to be made sympathetic, to be protected by an audience that loved them. And Ellen participated in that every single day she was on air. She interviewed predators, she interviewed people connected to exploitation networks, she asked the safe questions, she got the laughs, she protected the system. And when the system finally started to crack, when people started asking the unsafe questions, Ellen did what the system does. She disappeared for a while, came back with a rebrand, and tried to convince everyone she was the victim. But Rob Schneider wasn't having it, and Joe Rogan wasn't having it either.
I can't stand these rich celebrities who want us to feel sorry for them. We don't, right?
We don't. And maybe that's the beginning of something. Maybe that's the crack in the facade. Because if people stop feeling sorry for them, if people stop accepting their narratives, if people start asking the right questions, then the system starts to fall apart. And according to Joe Rogan, people like Ellen and Oprah are counting on us not asking those questions. They're counting on us being distracted. They're counting on us not connecting the dots between Ellen's cruelty and Oprah's associations and Epstein's immunity and Weinstein's contracts and Twitch's death and Anne Heche's crash. But the dots are there, and Rob Schneider saw them, and Joe Rogan saw them, and now maybe you see them too. The question is, what happens next?